Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a live-action Disney remakes ranking, or tier list. With the release of Snow White, the Snow White remake that came out a week ago, I wasn't able to see it in theaters until this week when I came back, and my sister decided to surprise me with it. I thought we would go ahead and re-rank the Disney live-action remakes, shall we? So, first one up, so we have 5 tiers, A, B, C, D, F, down to the worst. And now we have, first up we have the 1994 Jungle Book. Not really too much to say about this one. I mean, I like it. I think it's decent enough. The fact that, when you compare this one to the 2016 one, it's using real animals, it's using real people, it feels like an actual movie. Not to say that any of these movies aren't movies, they are movies, but this one in particular, it's fine. But that's all I can really say about that, but it's decent. Then we have 101 Dalmatians, this is our first of our 101 Dalmatians movies. I think this one is pretty good. I think Glenn Close is a great Cruella de Vil. I like the 90s aesthetic to it. And as one of the first Disney live-action remakes that kind of started it off, I'm like, this one is actually not bad if I'm being honest. So, this one is actually really good for me. So, I like it. It's going in B. And it also has like a Home Alone final battle type thing. Then we have 102 Dalmatians, which was not good. The only thing I kind of liked about it was this parrot that thought he was a dog, but he thought dogs can't fly. And Glenn Close was kind of good, but I just could not get into this one. It was pretty bad. Then we have Alice in Wonderland. Wasn't exactly a huge fan of the original Alice in Wonderland, and this one kind of makes it more of a sequel than an actual remake. And yeah, I just wasn't as big of a fan of it, so, but I did kind of enjoy parts of it, but yeah, that's all I have to really say about Alice in Wonderland. So yeah, you'll go in D. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the film based off of one of the sequences from Fantasia. I think this movie's pretty good. It's got some good sorcerer action, Nicolas Cage, Alfred Molina, Jay Baruchel is fun in here. It's a fun time. I enjoy myself. I'll put this in C. Is it better than the original Jungle Book? I'm not sure. No, it's not, but it's okay. Maleficent. So, this was one of the, not first Disney remakes, but this was one of the other Disney remakes where I was kind of interested in the story, because I'm like, so this is basically the Sleeping Beauty remake. And honestly, I think the original Sleeping Beauty, which I haven't really liked a lot in the last few years since I've seen it, but I remember, I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, Sleeping Beauty, the movie, is actually pretty good. Like, the animation and the way they crafted that film is kind of unique, and it's kind of underrated. This movie, I think this is probably the best example of how to do a prequel that is right. Where you take Maleficent and what made her so evil, and that basically you look at the Sleeping Beauty film now, and you don't quite look at it the same way, but it retells the Sleeping Beauty story in a brilliant but emotional way. And that, of course it's of course the original Maleficent and her evilness and turning into a dragon and fighting Prince Philip, it was of course awesome. But I liked the way they humanized her character, and Angelina Jolie played her really well in this film. And the action and the emotion, it still had all the stuff you want from a film of Sleeping Beauty, but it presented a lot of emotion that I wasn't really expecting. So for me, If anything, this is kind of like Game of Thrones for kids, and it's probably the best example of that. So I personally thought this film was great. So I loved Maleficent. Then we have Cinderella. Possibly the best adaptation of a Disney remake, to where you have the stepmother who you're supposed to hate. Lily James does a pretty good job as Cinderella. Her voice is pretty, is nice. The dresses and everything in this movie are pretty. Um, Prince Charming is decent enough. Um, the animal characters are fine. It does a decent enough job to make the film, serviceable. But overall, it's still pretty good. I still pretty much enjoy it. Then we have The Jungle Book 2016, the other Jungle Book movie that we got. And let me just tell you, this is actually one of Disney's best live action remakes yet. To where they didn't just retell the story of the original film, they actually crafted something entirely new with this one. Where they made a whole world out of the jungle, where they included the wolves in here more. They made Shere Khan an actual threat and actually had a reason into going out to kill Mowgli. They added in something with King Louie where I'm not going to spoil it, but it makes sense. If you want to know why he's so big and gigantic, look it up and you'll be amazed into how much research Jon Favreau did with this film. And also, I forget to mention the special effects in here. The fact that Mowgli is just the kid that plays Mowgli is just running through a whole blue screen of things is just incredible. But also, just all the action sequences and stuff in here will have you on the edge of your seat. All the performances from and they even picked such great people to play these iconic characters, from Bill Murray's Baloo to the guy that plays Bagheera. I forget his name. Stephen King. No, not Stephen King. Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's Bagheera. You have Lupita Nyong'o's Raksha. You have Neil Sethi's Mowgli. You have Christopher Walken's King Louie. You have Idris Elba's Shere Khan. There's so much greatness with this one. And me personally, yeah, this was a fantastic movie from Disney. A Disney classic, but also a great Disney remake. It's going in A tier. Next up, we have Alice Through the Looking Glass. I think that this movie is not that good, actually. The only good thing about it was the time dilations. But overall, the story was kind of messy, and the backstory about why the two queens hate each other was not that great. So I'm gonna put this one in the F tier as well. Then we have Pete's Dragon. Wasn't a huge fan of the original Pete's Dragon, but I watched this one and I'm like, I kind of liked it, like, a lot. And it actually added heart to it, where you didn't need to add a villain, but the dragon is nice, and a boy in his dragon story was kind of cool. So I'll put this one in B. Put this one in B. Then we have Beauty and Excuse me for a second. Alright, so next up we have Beauty and the Beast, and this one was kind of decent. I think the best thing about it is really like it definitely does not capture like the same essence and nostalgia that the original had, but I think like there's certain moments and sequences that like get on me. Like I really like the Gaston version of this song. I like Be Our Guest. Like certain songs and moments are good. Honestly, it's a decent watch, but I definitely like the original Beauty and the Beast way more though. And I also think this one does a pretty good job of using original songs for like How Does a Moment Last Forever or the Evermore song. I think this one is actually pretty decent. So I'll put this one in C. Then we have Christopher Robin, which it's kind of a mixed one because they're taking the Hook storyline and telling a adult story about Christopher Robin and how much he's grown out of the 100-Acre Woods, and so they're creating a new type of story for Winnie the Pooh to do a Winnie the Pooh remake. And I think that this was a fun film, having, Pooh and Christopher Robin, having Jim Cummings and all the other characters come back. And it was fun enough. And it does bring a nice sincerity to it all. So I'll put this one at the bottom of B because I really did enjoy it. Then we have Dumbo. This one is one I oddly enjoyed, but I know it's not as good as everybody else says it is. I believe, is Michael Keaton in this one, as well as Danny DeVito, and Colin Farrell's in it as well. And, it has a human cast when Dumbo was supposed to be, this... honestly, the original Dumbo is just perfect, that they really... They kind of ruined this one, and that, they try to do something kind of original, but not as good. So, yeah, I wasn't quite a big fan of this one, but I'll put it in D, just because I enjoyed it a little bit. Then we have Aladdin, and for me, this is actually one of my personal favorite Disney remakes. I think in the last, 6 years since it's been out, since 2019, it's grown on me. And me personally, I like the little changes they add to certain sequences. I like that we get to relive this story again, except in live action, because if you really think about it, Aladdin really works for live action, and it's just the perfect example of it. It does it justice. And, I like the choreography and the action, and some of the songs are pretty good. I think Will Smith is a great standout as the genie. Now, granted, obviously he's no Robin Williams, but he's not. I know that he's not trying to replicate Robin Williams' work, but he's doing a pretty good job. As the character. I like Jasmine, the way they did her character, and I like her new song, Silence, or I Won't Be Helped, because I know... Oh, no, Speechless. It's Speechless. I really like that. So, honestly, this is, one of my favorite Disney remakes that they've done in a while. Jafar, I wasn't crazy about, but overall, a solid Disney remake. So, I'll put this one in A. Next up, we have The Lion King. This is going to hurt a lot of people, but I actually really dug the live-action Lion King. Part of me is because I just really dig this story. And I also really like, action adventure stories. And I really love these characters. And honestly, for pretty much all of the Lion King media, even the Timon and Pumbaa movie and the Timon and Pumbaa movie and show, I still kind of enjoy because the characters are so charismatic and funny and interesting. It's the same thing with the live-action Lion King. These characters are so quotable, and, even then, some of the main characters, like Mufasa, I wasn't a big fan of, or Simba. I liked Nala, though I didn't like the way... I didn't like Beyonce. I didn't think Beyonce was a good voice for her. I loved Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen as Timon and Pumbaa in here. I thought... The girl that played Shenzi was really good. Keegan-Michael Key as one of the hyenas in here. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar was really good. And also, I love the songs in here, of course. And then I also really love the updated score from Hans Zimmer, which was honestly possibly some scores in here, like the Stampede score, might just be even better than the Stampede score in the original Lion King. But honestly, it's still a great score no matter what. Overall, where am I going to place Lion King? I feel like that this is the perfect example of that. If you are a diehard Lion King fan, you're going to love this. And that it's the same story with new added elements, where it's new people adding new perspectives on the things you love. And it's just a little bit of stuff that you like, and you get to see this story fleshed out in a little bit of a new way. So maybe it's just the nostalgia thing for me, but for me, I don't care. I think this is one of Disney's best remakes, so I loved it. Then we have Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and this one was also frustrating to watch because I watched this before I watched the original Maleficent, and I didn't really like it all that much. I thought it was kind of a weird story. I'm like, oh, she's finding people that are just like her. And it had an interesting concept, but in execution, I don't really think it worked all that well. And honestly, I'd probably say it's like decent enough. I'll put it in D, like, what's the girl's name in here that played, that was in Ant-Man and the Wasp? I forgot her name. Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer. So yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was awful in there. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this one. Then we have Lady and the Tramp, and this is just, honestly, this is one that's just decent. Like, there are some funny moments here and there. The CGI on the dogs are fine. But honestly, I do not remember a single thing about this movie after I saw it in 2019 when I opened Disney Plus. And that's kind of a bad sign. My sister didn't even finish it. That's bad. And the only thing I remember about it is that Tessa Thompson plays Lady, which is pretty crazy. And even the original Lady and the Tramp, which is a pretty classic Disney movie, not fond of, but I thought this film was okay. Then we have Mulan, and Mulan was a film that I actually like at first, and it's still pretty good, but I can notice that some of the changes they made, like in making it less fun, but making it more serious, I thought it was a nice change of pace, though I do miss some of the funness of it with, like, Li Shang and the Boily Mans and stuff, and the songs, which is what make the original so vibrant and colorful. I'll put this at the bottom of C. Actually, I'll put this at the top of C. I thought it did one of the better jobs of Disney remakes. Next up, we have Cruella. Cruella was a film that I was actually kind of nervous for because I honestly had no idea how this film was going to work. Like, you are basically... So, what is this? You're basically doing, like, you're having Emma Stone come in here. Like, I don't really know how this is going to work. And they actually crafted a really good story in here. But also, it had a great soundtrack, and it had great set design and costume design. So, I thought this film was actually pretty good. And Emma Stone's performance, fantastic as Cruella. Awesome. Phenomenal. I'd actually probably say this is one of Disney's best remakes. And I'm gonna put... Also, I like the little connections we have with 101 Dalmatians. Put it... bottom of 8 here. I'll put it there. Then we got Pinocchio. Pinocchio is an interesting one because a lot of people do not like it. For me, I can kind of understand, like, why does Pinocchio all of a sudden get, like, fancy powers? And, you know, when you have the, when you have Geppetto's cuckoo clocks, it's like shouting out a bunch of Disney characters. people can say that's like a complaint. I kind of find that fun, especially for me as a Disney fan. And I like that there's like a Chris Pine joke in here. Um, that was kind of fun and funny. I liked, me personally, I liked the way that that it was able to bring the original movie to life, to where it didn't really need to be so realistic. Tom Hanks played Geppetto pretty well. Um, was it creepy at times? Kinda, but that's how the original one was. And instead of making Pinocchio drink beer, we got him drinking root beer. Like, they actually added some pretty decent stuff. So, I kind of liked it. So, I'll put this one in B. Hate me if you want. I don't care. I liked Pinocchio. Then we have Peter Pan and Wendy. This one had so much potential to be great, and it just wasn't. Like, there's like two great versions of Peter Pan out there. Hook with Robin Williams, and the other one, which was a 2003 film, a live-action Peter Pan movie. And much like all these other ones, this one just did not... I think this is probably the worst one of all of them. As, first off, it was a Disney Plus original movie, and the concept of it was actually going to explore the backstory between Peter Pan and Captain Hook, and that they were once friends. That's an interesting concept. And they only explored it for like a little bit, but not too much. And I kind of wish they explored it a little bit more. And even though, like, with the Lost Boys, they don't really do much with it, or the Indians, they don't really make it a gigantic world. Like, you're talking about Disney remakes, and you have all these other remakes where they're spending so much money on them. You literally could have spent all that money to go out and shoot this movie and really make it a dream come true for Disney fans and make it awesome. So I think this movie had so much potential, and it just wasted all of it. Honestly, I'm putting this at the bottom of F. Like, yeah, this is easily one of my least favorites. Then we have the live-action Little Mermaid from 2023 that came out a month later after Peter Pan and Wendy. I actually think this is another great Disney remake. I think what I really loved about it was, of course, Halle Bailey's performance as Ariel was great, but also this was one of the first Disney remakes. Her voice was also amazing, but this was also one of the first Disney remakes where I realized, yeah, a lot of the stuff in the original animated movie doesn't quite work, because in the original film, Ariel wants to be a human, and then once she sees Eric, she starts falling in love with him, and that's the reason she wants to go now, because she wants to see him. And we don't realize it when we're kids, but now that we're adults, it's kind of like, oh yeah, seems a little odd. But I like the way they did her relationship, to where she just wants to be on land. And yeah, she remembers the guy, but she forms a relationship with him. And yeah, I didn't really like the plot line where whenever the kiss is mentioned, she forgets about it. Like, they tried so hard to be different. I wish they could have just developed the relationship just more fluently. But overall, like, I loved the relationship between Ariel and Eric. It made me smile. It was very sweet. And overall, I thought it had a lot of greatness to it. Even all the music in here, I didn't really have any complaints. Maybe besides Scuttlebutt by Aquafina. But all the other songs, like, they all were sung great. Even the new songs, like the new Halle Bailey song, For the First Time. I didn't really like the Eric song as much. It felt a little weird. But besides that, this is actually one of Disney's best remakes for me. I loved it, so it's going to go in A. And then finally we have Mufasa. So back then, about a few months ago, I said that this was one of my favorite remakes. Second to between Jungle Book and Maleficent. And unfortunately, I don't really stand on that opinion anymore, because I actually think this movie is decent. Of course, I now realize the issues in why people don't like this movie as much, and that the plot lines just do not correlate together. It's not really well done. There's so much greatness for there to be awesomeness here. With, of course, the special effects. They are now making the animals emote more. If they just spend a little more time developing some of these plot lines. But at the same time, I'm not going to put an F or D or anything just because I still enjoy this world. I still like the music. I still like learning about these characters and where they came from. And it's a freaking prequel in the Lion King universe. Except some of the canon and stuff doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, even though this is a remake universe. So I'm excited, and hopefully for the other Lion King movies we get in this live action universe, maybe they're better. I don't know. But I'm going to put this in C. As to where I'm going to put in C, though, I'm going to put it between Beauty and the Beast and Lady and the Tramp. I would put mainly because I think it's more memorable than Lady and the Tramp, but Beauty and the Beast I think is good, but I don't really have any specific problems with it, but it's decent. And then finally we have the newest live action remake, which is Snow White. Now there was a lot of things going into this film, whether it was, the production in Rachel Zegler basically stating the problems with the original movie, in which kind of crazy that this is happening, and she's not looking for true love. She needs to be a leader. And honestly, when I first heard about that, I'm like, okay, it sounds kind of lame, but Snow White wasn't really like that in the original movie, so how are you going to do that? And then there was all the clash about the seven dwarfs and all that stuff, and that, we're not going to bring in, dwarfism because that's like prejudice or whatever. We're going to do CGI dwarfs. And even all the complaints with Gal Gadot's Evil Queen. And if I'm going to be honest, I thought they kind of crafted a Disney remake that was kind of good in a way. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is like one of my favorite Disney remakes of all time. It's not anywhere close to being amazing, but it's actually quite good. Rachel Zegler's performance as Snow White is actually pretty good. I like the story they crafted, and maybe, a lot of people compared this to like Lion King and, Robin Hood. There's a bit of Robin Hood storylines in here, but also like with the Kingdom storyline, like it actually kind of develops like where did Snow White come from? How exactly is she a princess? She comes from a kingdom where her parents led a kingdom. It's easily explainable. But also like the Evil Queen, like, and to see how much she's transformed the kingdom, it was interesting. And to see her transform farmers to guards, and it kind of makes a lot more sense with like the prince and their love story, and even with the dwarfs and them mining, it kind of makes a lot more sense in that in this world it's also filled with a bunch of magic, especially with Evil Queen, so it kind of works a little bit. And even in the dwarfs, they have a bit of comedy. I also like the stuff they did with Dopey, the fact that he's talking now. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So I kind of liked it. Like, I don't really get, like, I can kind of understand when people are hating on it, but honestly, I kind of liked it. And I'm actually very excited for Lilo and Stitch in the next 2 months. So I'm gonna put this one in the B tier. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna put it. That is my thoughts on the Disney live action remakes. That's my ranking. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.